Jimmy Cliff, born James Chambers in 1944, was more than a musician. He was a cultural ambassador, a voice for the oppressed, and a symbol of Jamaica's spirit. Over 6 decades, his songs spread reggae's message of peace, hope, and resilience across the globe. On November 24, 2025, at the age of 81, Jimmy Cliff passed away after battling pneumonia and heart complications. His death marked the end of an era, but also revealed the hidden chapters of his life previously known only to his closest family. Fans and fellow artists worldwide mourned the loss of a legend whose music transcended borders and generations. Behind the fame, however, was a man who chose silence, valuing the purity of his craft over public attention. This story retraces his journey from humble beginnings in Somerton, Jamaica, to becoming a global icon of reggae music. Early life in Somerton. James Chambers grew up in Somerton, a small rural village in Jamaica, where poverty did not dampen the musical spirit of his family. From a young age, he sang in the church choir, experimenting with melodies and self-taught guitar skills using old bicycle brake wires. Music became both his solace and his calling. At 14, determined to pursue a professional career, he moved to Kingston, facing the harsh realities of city life. Nights were spent performing in bars and small clubs, often just for a meal. His dedication and raw talent caught the attention of producer Leslie Kong, who recognized a star in the making. The recording of his first single, Hurricane Hattie, marked the start of a journey that would eventually introduce reggae to audiences worldwide. Even in these early years, James displayed a mix of ambition, humility, and a deep love for his homeland. Rise to stardom. By the mid-1960s, Jimmy Cliff's voice had begun to captivate the Caribbean. Hits like Miss Jamaica and Wonderful World, Beautiful People earned him local fame and recognition across the region. Critics celebrated him as the young star of the tropics, a voice that carried optimism, faith, and unity, the pillars of reggae music. Jimmy's rise coincided with Jamaica's post-independence era, and he became a symbol of hope and pride for his nation. Tours across neighboring islands expanded his audience, and his reputation as a gifted songwriter grew. He quickly became known for blending storytelling with musicality, conveying messages of social consciousness while remaining deeply personal. By the early 1970s, Jimmy Cliff was ready to carry Jamaica's musical identity to the world stage. Global breakthrough, The Harder They Come. The year 1972 marked a turning point. Jimmy Cliff starred in the film The Harder They Come, Boring Karin da Centuri Beganti, performing the entire soundtrack. The story of a poor Jamaican man fighting injustice resonated internationally, introducing reggae to new audiences and making Jimmy a global symbol of the genre. The soundtrack sold millions, and the film became a cultural landmark. In interviews, Jimmy emphasized that his goal was not only to share music, but also to share Jamaica's soul. Tours followed across the United States, United Kingdom, and Japan, where he was received as both a musician and a cultural ambassador. His songs became anthems of resistance, hope, and identity, laying the foundation for reggae's worldwide recognition. The success of this period cemented his legacy, showing that music could cross rivers, languages, and boundaries, maintaining authenticity amid fame. As his fame grew, Jimmy Cliff faced a delicate balancing act, staying true to reggae's roots while navigating the commercial music industry. Despite offers from major labels, he chose independence, prioritizing artistic integrity over broader commercial success. Jimmy believed music belonged to the people, not the market, and that fame should not compromise the soul of the art. In the late 1970s, he returned to Jamaica to organize free performances for students and workers, turning concerts into spontaneous festivals of unity. He often reminded audiences that music was a gift for all, not a privilege. Such decisions reinforced his reputation as an artist committed to social values, even at the expense of conventional success. His dedication to authenticity became a guiding principle, defining his music and public life. The weight of recognition. While Jimmy Cliff's music reached global audiences, the pressures of fame gradually introduced personal and professional challenges. Success elevated him to the summit of reggae, yet it also created invisible burdens. By the early 1980s, disputes with Island Records over copyrights led to a departure that temporarily shadowed his career. Relocating to England, he continued recording, experimenting with new styles, but often felt disconnected from the industry's commercial pressures. Critics noted his search for personal artistic voice, while fans saw only a quieter public presence. These years marked the beginning of his gradual withdrawal as he navigated the complex intersection of personal identity, artistic purpose, and public expectation. Even in silence, his influence endured, shaping a generation of musicians. Choosing silence. By the 1980s and 1990s, Jimmy Cliff began to step back from the public eye. Interviews became rare, and appearances were limited, signaling a deliberate retreat from fame. Health and personal priorities played roles. But there was also a philosophical aspect. He wished to preserve music's purity and avoid being defined solely by commercial interests. Jimmy believed that sometimes true artistry required listening more than performing. He remained productive in private, writing and composing even when public appearances were impossible. Friends and family recall a man deeply engaged with life and music, choosing silence not out of withdrawal, but out of respect for the creative process and his own spiritual connection to music. Later years in Montego Bay. In his later years, Jimmy Cliff moved to Montego Bay with his wife, Latifah Chambers, living in a modest seaside home. By 2023, he had almost entirely disappeared from public life. Health issues, including chronic pneumonia and heart disease, limited his mobility, requiring breathing aids and crutches. Despite these challenges, he continued to write music, keeping notebooks by his bedside to capture fleeting ideas. In September 2025, his condition worsened, and he was admitted to the University Hospital of the West Indies in Kingston. Even in illness, his connection to music never faded, often requesting to listen to his classic Many Rivers to Cross. Music remained his companion, a lifeline, and a testament to a lifetime spent letting melodies speak where words could not. Passing and funeral. On November 24, 2025, Jimmy Cliff passed peacefully in the presence of his family. His wife described the moment as serene, only accompanied by the fading sound of a heart monitor. His family honored his wishes for a simple farewell, cremation, and scattering of ashes into the sea at Montego Bay, where he had first composed songs as a young boy. The local community paid homage with flowers, music, and impromptu performances celebrating the life of a man whose work had shaped a nation's identity. Thousands gathered in Kingston to bid him farewell, creating a quiet, music-filled tribute that reflected the life he had chosen, one defined by melody, unity, and the enduring spirit of reggae. The daughter's revelation. Following the funeral, Lily Cliff, Jimmy's eldest daughter, stepped forward as the family spokesperson. She revealed previously unknown details about his health and final years. Jimmy had quietly battled pneumonia and heart complications for 2 years, never wanting to alarm fans or evoke pity. During his time in Montego Bay, he continued to compose and reflect on life, faith, and aging, keeping a notebook of musical and personal ideas. Lily described him as a man who believed, if a man can no longer sing, let the song sing for him. Her words offered insight into Jimmy's philosophy, a life dedicated to music, not headlines, and a legacy that would speak for itself through melodies that transcended time. Reflection on his career and philosophy. Jimmy Cliff's story is not only about musical triumphs, but also about integrity, resilience, and cultural pride. He navigated fame without compromising his vision, using music to speak for those often unheard. His career spanned the early challenges in Somerton, the global breakthrough with The Harder They Come, and decades of experimentation and reflection. Even when the world did not see him, Jimmy continued to write and inspire through his quiet dedication. He resisted commercialization that diluted reggae's essence, choosing instead to honor its roots and purpose. Through his life, he taught that true artistry is measured not by recognition, but by the impact it leaves on people's hearts. Legacy, a life letting music speak Jimmy Cliff's journey, from James Chambers in Somerton to a global reggae icon, illustrates the power of music to cross boundaries, uplift communities, and immortalize culture. His songs remain timeless, echoing themes of hope, peace, and resilience. Beyond his melodies, Jimmy left lessons in humility, courage, and the dignity of creation. By choosing silence in his later years, he reminded the world that music is a language beyond words, capable of expressing what fame or fortune never could. Fans, musicians, and future generations will continue to celebrate him, not just as a performer, but as a man who let the music speak, carrying his spirit across many rivers, leaving a legacy that cannot fade.